Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my Premier League Match Week 3 predictions, where of course in today's video we'll be discussing every single game coming your way this Premier League match weekend. And of course, as usual, we've got fantastic games lined up to talk about in today's video, such as Liverpool versus Chelsea, where we finally get to see the physical battle between good old Romelu Lukaku versus Virgil van Dijk. It is going to be insane. We've also got games to talk about like Manchester City versus Arsenal, where in today's video I've invited the likes of Dominic Rich, where of course we'll see his opinions on the matter. Along with that, we've got another bunch of fantastic games to talk about in today's video that you will not want to miss. And of course, if you like this kind of content, I do it on a regular basis. So don't forget to subscribe if you do like this kind of content and want to catch it in the future. But without further ado, let's jump into my Premier League Match Week 3 predictions. But before we jump into the prediction part, let's quickly look at how last week's predictions went. Now, of course, looking at last week's predictions, it didn't go as well as my Match Week 1 predictions, but it still went fairly well. I did get 4 predictions wrong though, worse than Premier League Match Week 1, but that's because I hardly ever like to predict draws. I just find it boring sometimes. And obviously those predictions were the likes of Leeds United versus Everton, Manchester United versus Southampton, Brentford versus Crystal Palace, and of course I did predict Watford to beat Brighton. I did get those predictions wrong, but at least I did get one exact prediction, being Liverpool beating Burnley 2-0. The other predictions I got the correct results, just not the correct scoreline. So you know what? At the end of the day, it isn't bad. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go join Dominic Rich. Right, so for game number 1 of Premier League Match Week 3, it's a big one. Manchester City versus Arsenal. And I thought, what better way to start off a Manchester City game than to talk to a Manchester City fan himself. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mr. Dominic Rich.
Ben, how are you doing, man? City versus Arsenal. This is a big game. Both teams did not really start out the season in ideal fashion. City picked up a win in their last match, smashing Norwich 5-0, but Arsenal yet again have lost another one, losing back-to-back London derbies against newly promoted Brentford and Champions League winners Chelsea. Well, I don't think we expected any other result after, what happened in the Brentford game and how Chelsea are looking right now. But Arsenal, Manchester City. This would be a home game for Man City. And if you guys check the last 10 fixtures between City and Arsenal, Arsenal have only picked up one win, and that's when Mikel Arteta was still in his honeymoon phase. Well, early days of his honeymoon phase. I think the honeymoon phase is over. He beat Pep in the FA Cup semi-final and went on to win the whole damn thing. And that made the Arsenal fans very happy. They had a lot of confidence in Mikel Arteta, but that confidence has seemingly gone down the drain. So Pep Guardiola versus Arteta, his former understudy. It could always be a tricky one. But last season, Pep said, listen, you beat me in the FA Cup, I'm going to do the double. I'm going to do the league double. And Man City has been doing the league double over Arsenal for the last couple seasons because City has been the more dominant team since Pep came, to manage the citizens. So I'm not really, look, judging from the way Arsenal started the season, Finn, I'm not scared one bit, but we cannot take any team lightly. This could be the game when Arsenal do bounce back and shock us, but I honestly don't think that is going to happen because after the match they lost to Tottenham Hotspur, we saw how we bounced back against Norwich. It was a ruthless approach by Pep Guardiola, and I think he's going to take the ruthless approach. I hope he takes a ruthless approach against Arsenal once again. I think we're going to win this game. I do think we're going to win this game. Arsenal are yet to score, and I don't have any doubts. I really don't have any doubts about picking up a victory here. And it could get ugly, but maybe not as ugly as Norwich. So I'm going to say City win the game 3-0. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. We win 3-0. The team isn't as settled as it wants to be as yet. The transfer window is still open. There's been rumors around Harry Kane. Jack Grealish came in doing his thing. Phil Foden's still out with an injury. Kevin De Bruyne is struggling. But the team has a lot of depth and a lot of strength to actually Pep could put together a quality 11 to go out there and continue making Arsenal the whipping boys of the English Premier League.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I mean, in terms of my prediction, making my notes, I actually originally wrote down 3-0, but I thought, shame, is that a bit harsh? You don't really want to kick a man while he's down. So I kind of changed it to 2-0. So I think we've got very similar predictions in that aspect. But yeah, looking at Arsenal, I mean, they don't have Ben White. They still don't have their main strikers. Obviously, they don't have Partey. They are just missing so many players. And obviously, talks, as you said, about Manchester City missing maybe players, or there's lots of talks about them bringing in players. Even without a striker, I think Manchester City could play a five-a-side team versus Arsenal and probably still get a win. But as we saw in their previous game versus Norwich, Gabriel Jesus can play football from time to time.
Yeah.
So, it's at the end of the day, no doubt about it. I 100% agree with you. A 2-0, a 3-0, whatever it is, I think Manchester City are just going to dominate it. And Arsenal, I mean, they're in the relegation zone. And I think after this match week, they're going to stay there. My player of the match for this game, I'm going to go for the likes of Mahrez. He can always cause something special. Dominic, who is your man to watch?
Well, I'll say keep an eye on Jack Grealish. Definitely. I'm excited, man. It's good to have Jack Grealish at the club, and all eyes would be on him. But I think Gabriel Jesus. I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna say Jack Grealish and Gabriel Jesus. For Arsenal, we have to keep our eyes on Emil Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka, because these youngsters are buzzing. I feel bad for them that they actually still at Arsenal and the fact that they're struggling right now. But I think things will get better. Things will get better. They're actually investing in the team, and it could only get better from here on. After the City game, I should say, it should start to get a lot better. But I think it should be another routine win for Manchester City, barring any mishaps, barring a Mendy inclusion, an Ake inclusion, because these guys, I think, are the weakest links in the Man City team right about now. But I'm confident that we're going to pick up a win against the Gunners.
See that, ladies and gentlemen? The Gunners have a team for the future. That Manchester City team have a team for the now. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominic Rich. Now, getting into the second game for Premier League Match Week 3, which, guys, don't forget to check out Dominic Rich's channel in the link in the description down below to go check out his content and all his stuff. But looking at Game 2 of Match Week 3, it is going to be Aston Villa versus Brentford. And, of course, Brentford, I mean, they've only ever played 2 Premier League games in their entire club's history. And they are 2 games undefeated. I think they can be so proud of themselves. I really want to give them a win versus Aston Villa. I think Brentford have it in their ability. I feel like in terms of their attack, they could definitely do it. I'm so tempted to give them a 2-1 prediction, a 2-1 win, but I am going to give it in Aston Villa's favour. Looking at Brentford in their previous game, they did draw to Crystal Palace. I don't think that they were as dominant as they were versus Arsenal. I think defensively, maybe they did look a slight bit dodgier, but I think that was bound to happen. Where if you look at Aston Villa, they beat the likes of Newcastle United in their previous game, and I thought in some aspects they looked brilliant. Yes, they did slip up in some areas of the game. I think they really are looking for that big, powerful performance this season. Obviously didn't have a great start with a loss to Watford, but they will be looking to prove themselves and improve themselves so far this season, and I do feel like they will get the win versus Brentford. I feel like it will be a 1-0 win. I don't know what it is. It's just a gut feeling in my soul, and I do feel like the player to watch in a fixture like that is going to be the likes of Danny Ings. I mean, how can you not go for the player who scored a bicycle kick in his previous game? He has really hit the ground running, and I think he'll do it again in today's game or in this Premier League Match Weekend's game. Now, the third game I'm going to talk about is going to be Brighton versus Everton. And of course, once again, Michael Keane, another slip up, more defensive errors for Everton. I mean, at this point, everyone who's watched my channel for a while knows that I'm quite fond of the likes of Michael Keane, but the mistakes he's made so far this season, just 2 weeks in, I mean, he is looking like the love child between Phil Jones and another Phil Jones. I mean, it hasn't looked that promising, but I really do expect Everton to look better in a game like this. I thought they had some really promising moments versus Leeds, but once again, it all came down to defensive slip-ups. I am going to give Everton a 2-0 win. Nothing bad versus Brighton. I actually really like Brighton. I feel like a lot of the time, and most people, including myself, tend to underestimate the likes of Brighton. I think they've got a fantastic squad at the end of the day. They could maybe shock us versus Everton, but I do feel like Everton are just going to get the win. I just feel like they're slightly definitely are the better team, but I wouldn't be surprised if this result went any other direction. And in terms of a player to watch, I think Decore has looked brilliant as of late. He's taking more chances, but my player to watch at the end of the day is going to be the likes of Calvert-Lewin. Once again, fantastic striker, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got both the goals in a fixture like this. Now jumping into the next game, it is going to be Newcastle United versus Southampton. Now I'm very tempted to put this down as a 2-2 draw, but I'm going to give Newcastle a win in this. I am going to give them their first win of this new Premier League season. Yes, Southampton did get a draw versus Manchester United, but I think that was just Manchester United's fault in terms of their sloppy kind of releasing of the ball in defensive areas. I am going to give Newcastle the win, and I do believe that the player to watch will be good old Saint Maximum. I mean, his skill ability is absolutely insane. I mean, he's the kind of guy to make you rage quit on FIFA. They might as well just change his name to Happy Feet, the way he likes to skill around the ball. I feel like Newcastle United look a lot more promising than I thought they would this season. Obviously, having the likes of Joe Willock joining the team once again, that is a huge advancement and huge improvement to the team. I do think that Newcastle United will get the win over Southampton. I feel like Southampton have had promising moments, but I just feel like the way Newcastle United's attack is looking and improving game by game, I wouldn't be surprised if they won. Now next up, we've got the likes of West Ham United versus Crystal Palace. And West Ham United, the top goal scorers within 2 weeks of the Premier League season, 4 goals in their first 2 games, 8 goals altogether. They are not looking bad. The likes of Antonio is looking like a lethal striker as a team. This West Ham United team is looking very, very promising, and I'm excited to see what they can do this season. I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but they've looked like a solid team ever since Jesse Lingard was part of the team. Although he might not be there anymore, he's left a bit of his magic dust there, his boyhood wonder at the club. But at the end of the day, I do think West Ham United will get a win over Crystal Palace, and I'm not going to say anything bad about Crystal Palace because no matter how good they look, I am basing this win purely on West Ham United's performances. Crystal Palace, though, in the game versus Brentford, I won't lie, I thought defensively they had some brilliant moments, but just because of how good West Ham United are looking at the moment, I do have to give them the win. And in terms of a player to watch, once again, there are some fantastic players, and I'm going to give the player to watch to the likes of Ben Rama. I'm really kind of thinking of maybe giving it to Antonio, but at the end of the day, Ben Rama has been really excellent in terms of the chances he's created, and I think he'll be one to watch in a fixture like this. Now next up, we've got the likes of Liverpool versus Chelsea, the game we've all been waiting for multiple reasons. First of all, they are 2 of the top teams in the Premier League at the moment, and just over the last few years, they've really been competing well together. It's always an exciting game to watch, but this time we've got the likes of Virgil van Dijk versus Romelu Lukaku, the physical battle, the 2 GOATs. Who will win between these 2 players? Now, of course, Romelu Lukaku getting his first Chelsea goal of the years, just 15 minutes versus Arsenal. I think that both of these teams is going to be a tight contest. I mean, I could go for a 2-3 win in either direction, but it might go down to a draw or even just a 1-0 win in whatever direction it goes. I think it is going to be such an amazing battle to watch, and definitely a bit more exciting than watching someone like Virgil van Dijk versus Timo Werner. I mean, the way Timo Werner played last season, Virgil van Dijk could have gone out with his injury, he could have come back with recovery, he could have gone out for fish and chips, he could have dusted off his hands afterwards and then witnessed Timo Werner miss the goal. That's how Timo Werner played last season. But adding Romelu Lukaku up front, Chelsea look a lot more threatening, and I don't know what it is, if it's just going to be the physical battle. I believe it will be a 1-0 win, and I'm going to give it in Chelsea's favour. I don't know what it is, but watching Chelsea last season, the kind of defensive football that they can play under Tuchel while still attacking really well up front, I don't know what it is, but it once again just a gut feeling that Chelsea will win this one, but I wouldn't be surprised whichever direction it goes. And yes, although I did say that I think the combination to watch will be Virgil van Dijk versus Romelu Lukaku, my player to watch is actually going to be the likes of Mason Mount. I feel like in a game like this, yes, obviously goals matter, defense matters, but I believe the midfield link-up play is what's going to be most important, and I believe Mason Mount will be the player to watch for just reasons like that. Now, of course, the next game is going to be Burnley versus Leeds. I am going to give Leeds United a 2-0 win. Once again, nothing bad versus Burnley. I think Burnley have had some really promising moments. They've actually had some brilliant attacking opportunities. They've started off way better than last season, where it took them like 8-9 games to get their first goal. goal. They are looking a lot more promising. Defensively, they have made a monstrous amount of slip-ups from time to time though. Yes, once again, Leeds United haven't looked brilliant so far this season. I mean, it's not the start, their dream start that they wanted, especially that big loss versus Manchester United, drawing versus Everton, but I do expect Leeds United to pick up versus Burnley. I think their fast counter-attacking play versus a team like Burnley will be crucial, kind of their triangle link-up play between their fullbacks, wings and midfielders. I just feel like the pace that they're going to move up the field, I don't think Burnley will handle it, so I think Leeds United will win 2-0. And in terms of a player to watch, I do think it will be Rafinha. I think we'll see another masterclass and another beautiful goal. Now jumping into the second last game of match week 3 before we get into the international break, it is going to be Tottenham Hotspurs versus Watford. Now Watford is a team that has surprised me on many occasions. Obviously won their opening game of the season versus Aston Villa, obviously lost their previous game versus Brighton. It's very tricky to tell what Watford can do. I think Hernandez up front, their newest striker, that young striker, has looked fantastic. I think the chances he creates has proven he can really go places someday, but will he go to Tottenham Hotspurs to get a win? I don't think so. I think Tottenham Hotspurs will end up getting a 3-1 win. I do think it will be in Spurs' favour. I think they just look like the better team, and yes, in their game versus Wolves, they only ended up scraping the win because of a penalty. I'm really hoping for a lot more for them versus Watford. I do think Tottenham Hotspurs will get a 3-1 win, and if Harry Kane is truly back at Tottenham Hotspurs and truly staying, I believe he could be the player to watch, and I think he could net 2 goals in a game like this. If not, Dele Alli has been looking promising, so I will be giving it to him in his direction. Now, before we get into the final game, I have realized that I might have missed the game. And yes, I am professional, don't judge me about it. It is going to be Leicester City versus Norwich. Now, obviously, it is Norwich at home, and the last time these two teams played against each other, Norwich ended up getting the win. Now, do I think this will be the same this time around? I actually do think Leicester City will get the win. Yes, they got that horrific lost to West Ham United. Defensively, they made so many mistakes and they looked absolutely dreadful. But at the end of the day, they are the better team, and versus Norwich, you would hope that they can get the win. Obviously, the likes of Perez getting a red card in their previous game, which, was it a card? Maybe it was a card. Was it a red card? I don't think so. But you know what? Going forward, I do believe Leicester City will be the better team. I think it will be a 2-1 win. I do think Norwich will score the first goal, but then Leicester City will just pick up and score the other 2 goals. And in terms of the player to watch, once again, it's very hard not to go for the likes of Jamie Vardy. Fantastic player at the end of the day, and he will get the match winner. Now, the final game for Premier League Match Week 3. It is going to be the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester United. Now, of course, Wolves over the last year or two, they have had their struggles, obviously, especially with their striker. But now that Raul Jimenez is back in the game, back at Wolverhampton Wanderers, it's tricky to tell whether Manchester United are going to face the Wolves or face a group of puppies. You don't quite know what you're going to face, where if you look at Manchester United, once again, Manchester United just have a plethora of problems that they have to deal with. Once again, fantastic squad, but versus Southampton, once again, very sloppy on the ball. And who would have thought a midfield of Matic and Fred, not a fast enough pivot to beat the likes of Southampton? I mean, I could have told you that from a mile away. In fact, I've told you from multiple miles away. I live on a different continent. But I think Manchester United will beat Wolves. Once again, they are the better team. When they are looking good up front, when they are looking good at the back, they look almost unbeatable. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost versus Wolves though, but purely because Wolves still have to gain momentum this season, purely because they have had defensive errors, because they're not there attacking wise. I will give Manchester United the result in this one. And in terms of the player to watch, I am going to give it to the likes of Paul Pogba. 5 assists in his first 2 games of the season. I mean, come on, Pogba. I mean, you are truly back and you are looking brilliant. Let's hope he can keep it up throughout the entirety of the season. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my match week 3 predictions for this brand new Premier League match week. I think it is going to be such an exciting match week. It's a pity that the international break is already here. I'm really starting to get into the Premier League fixtures. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Once again, if you enjoy my content and you're not subscribed, it only makes sense that you do subscribe down below. Make sure that you do that to catch more content in the future, along with hitting that like button. Can we get this video to 20 likes? I'm not really sure what that does, but I like seeing you guys like my video. It tells me that you do enjoy it. But match week 3 of the Premier League, some fantastic games. Guys, don't forget to put your predictions down below. I'm excited to see what you guys think. But guys, this has been Finn, FY Double N. Don't forget to subscribe to me and Dominic Rich. Until next time, cheers.